Hey everyone, and welcome back to Rank and File Sports. And today we're going to be hopping right back into our series where we are predicting every single Power 4 team's record by the start of the college football season. So please make sure to like and subscribe for our daily uploads. Looking at our schedule preview, as you can see, Penn State starts out the season the exact same way they did last year with a game against West Virginia. This year it's going to be on the road, and if you remember last year, that was a very close game until the fourth quarter. So definitely one to watch out for. But I wouldn't be too overly worried. I think Penn State will be a little more ready for that one this year. Next up, they have pretty easy non-conference games with Bowling Green and then a bye week before the one against Kent State. And then likewise, the Big Ten schedule also starts off pretty easy with Illinois and UCLA at home before a road trip to USC. Personally, I think USC is a little bit overrated. It's a long way to travel for Penn State, but I wouldn't worry too much about that one either. Now, luckily for Penn State, they get one more bye week before the real tough part of their schedule starts with a road trip to Wisconsin, followed by the home matchup against Ohio State. These are going to be the two toughest games for Penn State this year for sure, and it's definitely going to be hard for them to win one or definitely both of those games. Most likely, they won't end up winning either. If they do, it's probably going to be the one against Wisconsin. It really depends on how Wisconsin's playing up to that point of the season. And then they finish it out with Washington, two pretty simple road trips with Purdue and Minnesota, followed by their classic game against Maryland in the last week of the season, which never really is much of an issue for Penn State. They have a grand total of 7 home games and 5 away games, and 2 opponents ranked in our preseason top 25, which are Wisconsin and Ohio State, and an overall schedule difficulty of 4 out of 10. Penn State has a total of 4 guaranteed wins on their schedule. The first two are two of their non-conference games with Bowling Green and Kent State. Both of these are very easy games. Both of them are at home, nothing to worry about here. And then the next one will be their Big Ten opener, which is at home against Illinois. Illinois, they have a decent defense sometimes, but on the road at Penn State, I really don't expect the Nittany Lions to lose this game or for it to be particularly close. It might be low scoring, but if so, Illinois is not going to score very much at all. And finally, we have their last game of the season, which is that home game against Maryland. And I just really don't see Maryland being that competitive in this game. Sometimes they can keep it a little bit close, but I really don't think that lasts for more than a half this year. I think Penn State will have enough on offense to really run away with this one. We have a total of 6 likely wins for Penn State, and the first one is that road trip to West Virginia. Like I mentioned, this was a close game until the fourth quarter last year, and I kind of expect it to be pretty similar this year. However, I think Penn State is able to pull away and come away with a win, probably close to around 10 points or so. Next, they have a home game against UCLA. And this one I'm not too worried about for the Nittany Lions. UCLA is probably going to end up being the worst out of the 4 Pac-12 teams that transferred into the Big Ten this year. Next, we have USC. I think they're a little bit overrated. This game is on the road, and it is right before a bye week leading into Penn State's 2 biggest games of the year. I think the fact that there's a bye week in there doesn't really leave much room for needing to worry about Penn State potentially overlooking USC. I just don't really expect much from USC, even though they'll have the home field advantage and it's a long road trip. I don't really see Penn State losing this game. Next is the home game against Washington. And Washington made the national championship last year. They lost a lot, including their head coach. They stole a head coach from Arizona who did very well last year. However, not as many transfers as they would like. So I think they are going to take a step back this year. I do still think they'll be a good team. However, I don't expect a playoff appearance out of them. And I don't expect them to go on the road and beat Penn State. Next is the road trip to Purdue. Purdue is going to be a subpar Big Ten team this year. I don't really see them winning this game, even though they're at home. Penn State is, at this point in the season, going to be too strong to lose a road game like this. And then finally is the road trip to Minnesota. And this one's in the likely win just because it's a road game, kind of like Purdue. And I really don't see Penn State losing this game. However, it's right before rivalry week, and the fact that it's a road game just leaves that upset potential in there. So it's definitely one to watch out for. Just one game in the toss-up category for Penn State, and that is their road trip to Wisconsin. Now, I think Camp Randall is going to be rocking for this game. It's going to be a very intimidating environment, and as we've seen in the past, Drew Aller has not always stepped up to the challenge, especially on the road against good teams like Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's going to be a borderline top 25 team this year, which means this is definitely a game to watch out for Penn State. It really could go either way, but in the end, I think it is the home field advantage and just the fact that from what I've seen from Drew Aller in years past, I don't really see him carrying Penn State to a road win. Now, if it's a different Drew Aller this year, then Penn State probably does win this game. Since that hasn't been proven, I just can't pick Penn State on the road in this one. Finally, we have one likely loss, which is to the Buckeyes on November 2nd. This is a home game for Penn State. However, they just haven't had the Buckeyes number ever since 2016. They've played a lot of close games, but just never been able to get it done. It's become a running joke now that James Franklin can't beat good teams, and it's starting to look like that is truly the case. If he doesn't beat Ohio State this year, then I don't know if he ever will. And to be honest, the Buckeyes have one of the most talented rosters, if not the most talented roster in the country. I expect them to go on the road and win this game at Penn State. I just really haven't seen enough from Penn State in both the coaching and the playing aspect, especially at quarterback. I'm not high on Drew Aller at all. And the way he played in that game last year, even though it was in Ohio Stadium, I just don't see him being able to lead his team to victory over the Buckeyes. Looking at the schedule recap, we have Penn State starting out with a win in that West Virginia game on the road, followed by their two easy non-conference games. Those are both going to be very easy wins. And then also winning their first three Big Ten games this season. They have a bye week after that to prepare for the Wisconsin and Ohio State games. However, I don't think they win either of those. The Wisconsin one's going to be close. There's a potential for them to win that, especially depending on if Wisconsin's having as good of a season as I think they will. If not, Penn State definitely could win that one and finish 11-1. However, I just don't see them winning this Ohio State game. As you can see, we have it at about 25%. They have a lot of home field advantage, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. I like the Buckeyes in that game. And then after those two losses, I do think they are able to win out and finish with a record of 10-2. Their projected record based on all of these percentages sits at 9.8 and 2.2. So somewhere in between 2 and 3 losses, a lot closer to 2. So really, really close to that 10-2 record we have. And then FPI has Penn State sitting at 10.1 and 1.9. I think they're just not quite as high on Wisconsin as we are. So slightly higher projected record than us. But as far as predictions go, pretty much right on par. And then finally, they have a 59% chance to make the playoffs. I do think they'll have a good chance to make it with an 11-1 record as a at-large team. However, if they're sitting at 10-2, I don't think they're going to end up making it. I just think there's too many other teams. It's going to be a toss-up there if that happens for sure. And then national championship sitting at 6.6%. I think Penn State's going to be good. I don't think they're going to be national championship good unless Drew Aller magically becomes the best quarterback in college football. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe for all of our future content.